Hi class. So I want to talk about a few different things in this very short video, and I'm going to start with the portfolio assignment. So that assignment, actually, I'm finding it very interesting how all of you are utilizing it, some very similar ways, and then some people quite different. And the idea for that assignment is for you to keep track of your learning. And so as you do that, you'll want to make sure that you do address those questions, and I expect that most of the questions should be addressed every week. And when you present the material, make sure that you're using headings so that I know which questions you're talking about, and don't forget to cite your sources. Part of the assignment is also you demonstrating that you are engaging with the course material, so make sure you use all the materials that have been assigned in the week. Plus, you're going to have to use outside sources, especially in answering your own questions that you came up with. So anyway, good job on that. And if you have questions, of course, email me. I wanted to also talk about stages of grief. And as you noticed from my website, I'm pretty opposed to talking to people about stages of grief. And I don't, even though I love the Worden text, I also don't like his task of mourning. I think that when we talk about stages or tasks, we're really doing that for ourselves and not for grieving people. And I'll tell you why I find it really objectionable. So the best way is for me to share a case that I actually had. And that is, I had this parent come to see me. The child had died, and the parent came in because they were very concerned with how it was a woman, how she was handling her grief. And what she said to me was this. She said, I already went through the anger stage, and now I'm back at it. And so for her, that meant that she was not grieving correctly, because if there's something that's a stage, if it's in stages, then it should be linear, right? And so you should get angry and then you're done with it. That's not how grief is. You can feel all those different emotions over and over and over, even in the space of 10 seconds. So you're mad, and then you're crying, and then you're like, no, this did not happen. And that's all really normal. And what I found from my work at the hospital, working with bereaved parents for over 5 years, was that what we talk about academically and in books just doesn't work for real people. And that when we tell them that's how it's supposed to be, we set them up to feel like failures. And it seems to me like when someone has lost a child, they shouldn't also have the burden of feeling like they're not doing grief correctly. From my perspective, almost every experience that people have with grief is normal, and they'll be okay. So I'm even not thrilled about talking about complicated grief or anything like that, because what I think is that it looks complicated to counselors, but it is not. If you see, especially parents' grief over many years, you realize that most everything is normal. So anyway, I just worry that us as professionals put things on parents or grieving people that really hurts them. And that includes talking about stages. So anyway, just wanted to explain why I feel so strongly about that. I also want to mention how important it is to be aware of people's culture, and that includes their faith. It could include their community, whatever context a person exists in, and usually we're in multiples context, that influences how people grieve, what support's available to them, what grief looks like. And so that's something to always keep in mind. Same thing with gender and age. All of those things are determinants of how people grieve. This week we're talking about special populations of grief, including parents and children, families, and what it's like to be a widow, and also the death of a pet. And I include that as an example of disenfranchised grief. Disenfranchised grief is grief that is not typically recognized by the wider community. Another one that is really common is miscarriage and even infertility. Those experiences create really profound grief for people that other people don't recognize. So a woman will have a miscarriage and people will say such things as, well, you can have, you could try again. You got pregnant once, you can try again. And it's like, no, this pregnancy was already a baby to this person, a child, and it's a big loss. And it's hidden. So people don't know that this person's grieving, because you don't usually walk around and say, "Hi, I'm so and so and I just had a miscarriage." So it's an unknown, and it's not something that's widely talked about, and it's not something that people tend to recognize as a really valid source of grief. So same thing with the loss of an animal. If you are one who really loves your animal, the loss of that animal is a loss of a relationship. It's a loss of so many things, and it's a big one. And other people that aren't involved with animals are really very cruel, and treat it like, well, you lost your pen, just get another one. And so the loss of an animal can be a really big thing. It's not widely recognized. So I include some reading about that, because I think it's super important for us to know. And the fact is that many, many people have animals. And if you're going to be working with people, it's important to know that that could be a very important part of someone's life. So anyway, again, if you have questions about anything, I hope you'll send me an email. If I don't write you back pretty quickly, feel free to email again. I get a lot of emails and sometimes they get lost, unfortunately. And very interesting portfolios, so keep up the good work on that. And thanks for taking this class and being interested in this topic. I think it's a really important one, and I think that your interest and empathy for it will make you a better professional and a better person. And with that, have a great week.